In the wake of another deadly shooting at the hands of federal agents in their community, priests in the Twin Cities quickly addressed the sadness, frustration, and fear of their parishioners. One pastor in St. Paul spoke candidly during his Sunday homily.
I'm tired. I don't know about you, church, but I am tired. Just when I think I have found the answer to this frustrating time that we seem to be living in, there's another hand that's dealt. Just when I think it's kind of hit a point where it can't get worse, I'm proven wrong.
And that priest joins us now. Father R.J. Fichtinger is a Twin Cities native and pastor of St. Thomas More Catholic Community in St. Paul. He brings us a local perspective into how the faithful are dealing with the national spotlight and the ongoing turmoil. Father, thank you so much for joining us. As you just saw and heard, you began a homily expressing your exhaustion in the aftermath of the shooting of Alex Pretti. For those of us who are not in the Twin Cities, can you capture how the local faithful are feeling right now amid this unrest?
Certainly, I'll try to do my best. I think the feeling immediately after being aware of the shooting on Saturday morning was a lot of fear. In 2020, after George Floyd was murdered, there was a lot of unrest, a lot of protesting, and a lot of things that really quite got dangerous and out of hand. And for us, I think the first thought was that might be what's happening again, right after two deaths so close together in Minnesota. I think a lot of people were afraid. I think there's also this pervasive tiredness, this pervasive frustration around, our community not feeling like we have our own agency, our own ability to be able to respond to the various needs and the various things that are going on without sort of this excited, and I don't mean that in a positive sense, but this frustrating presence of ICE, this frustrating presence of people who seem to be behaving in ways that are inhuman or at least don't recognize the humanity or the dignity of those who, are brothers and sisters who are immigrants in this country.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Annunciation school shooting in Minneapolis was only about 5 months ago. So the local Catholic community,
absolutely.
You've been through a lot, your faith community. So we do just continue to keep the faithful there in prayer. Father, when there is a political flashpoint, such as the killing of Alex Pretti, and there are debates over immigration enforcement, people can instinctively cling to their politics. What advice do you have for how we can continue to love our neighbor even when, and especially when, we disagree with our neighbor?
I think the first thing is to do what Jesus did, which was to go in prayer, right? It sounds, I think that I'm praying for you seems to have a double-edged sword connotation in this modern era. And unfortunately, I think but that's the first thing that Jesus does, right? He goes to the desert. He goes off alone. He is often going to prayer, especially after any kind of significant ministry, whether it's been healing or whether it's after the return of the 12 disciples from being sent out. There is this sense in which Jesus invites us to always reconnect with the Father. So I think the first step is, in fact, like intentional prayer. And then the second is to divorce people from actions. And that can be really difficult, but that sense in which we recognize, we can judge unjust actions, right? The killing of somebody, regardless of their status, by law enforcement is, I think, always something that we have to look at with a sense that that's not the desired outcome that we want, right? We want something that is part of, I think, a justice system that in the ideal, that the justice system will work and that we can participate in that. But when people are killed long before that process can even begin, I think we can say, okay, that action is wrong. But the people behind that, I think that we have to recognize, okay, when we begin to become emotionally invested in our own opinions, I think we can create more division than actually being able to have reasonable, difficult, and hard conversations. I mentioned in the homily that I think social media makes it all too easy to unfriend someone when I don't like what you have to say, to be able to like isolate myself from other people's opinions. And the reality is our world is complicated, and that art of having hard and difficult conversations is something that I think we need to rediscover.
That's a great reminder. Finally, Father, we just spoke with Archbishop Coakley, president of the U.S. Bishops' Conference, about his recent call for bishops and priests to host a holy hour for peace amid ongoing unrest. What are your thoughts on that response, and do you foresee yourself taking that on?
Absolutely. I mean, already our community has had a peaceful presence during the afternoons in the week of people just coming together to pray and to sort of orient their hearts towards prayer and to ask for God's presence and to peace to be the number one response of our community. I also think that it follows the model of Jesus, right? What does Jesus do in crisis? Obviously, he heals. I mean, I think of his moments at the tomb with his friend Lazarus. He stops before he opens the tomb and says, Father, I know you always hear me, but I do this for your benefit and for the people hearing me. And I think that that's an important reminder that we too, before any action, need to stop and address the Father, address the Lord, and be present. And I don't know of a better way of addressing the Lord in prayer than in adoration, in peace, and in prayer, in the beautiful silence that adoration and benediction can give.
Well said, Father. Thank you for your perspective. And again, be reassured for our prayers for your community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.